Hey everyone, welcome to the channel for another Escape From Tarkov video. In this one, I'm taking a look at the 12.7 patch notes, which include a bunch of really exciting things, including the customs expansion, a new Shoreline Boss, new weapons, and more. We've been eagerly awaiting some of this stuff for a while, but there's still a few things that come as kind of a surprise, but definitely a good one. So without too much of a delay in the intro, let's get right into it with the customs expansion being released in 12.7. First up, arguably the most anticipated and most teased part of the 12.7 patch is another expansion of the customs map, opening up an entire new side of the map around the construction site and industrial side of the map. We've seen a ton of screenshots from the map designers of this new area, and it looks incredibly detailed, with lots of interesting new areas to see, explore, and have wicked firefights in. The patch notes say there are many new explorable buildings, stationary weapons, and a new spawn point for Reshala and his goons. It's not really confirmed whether it will be Reshala's new main spawn point or just another option, but in any case, it'll be pretty awesome to have a new place to fight the customs boss. All things considered, I love the look of this new area, and I'm pretty hyped to get into the new buildings and see what kind of new keys you need and locations you can discover. Next, we're confirmed to be getting a new boss in the 12.7 patch, and on a map which I feel has been really lacking one, Shoreline. The new boss is named Sanitar, and his lore is that he was a Terror Group Labs employee who worked at the health resort in Shoreline. When everything went south in Tarkov, he gathered a gang of his colleagues and took over the resort and the Shoreline area. I haven't seen many pictures or any videos of Sanitar yet, but his mechanics sound fairly interesting. He'll have a gang of followers, similar to Glukar or Reshala, and the patch notes say he'll use his skills to quickly heal and give stimulants to his goons. He uses various stims, including a bunch of unique ones that only he has access to, which should be interesting and lead to some super doped up scavs that are really hard to kill. It also says something about him leaving first aid kits around the map for scavs, but I'm not sure exactly what that means. I think it sounds like a pretty cool boss to fight, especially if he roams around the resort with his gang. I can just imagine seeing them charging across the catwalk with super speed and health regen while screaming like crazy, and I'm pretty hyped to see how it all works out. Plus, some of his stims are likely to have awesome effects for your own character, so I can't wait to see what they do. They also mentioned new quests being added to Shoreline, which I can only assume will relate to the new boss and some of the lore behind him, so I'm excited to check those out as well. Next up, we've got two confirmed new weapons for the 12.7 patch. The first and least exciting of the two is the Mossberg 590A1 shotgun, which in all honesty is just going to be another pump action shotgun that nobody uses. However, what is interesting, the confirmed addition of the FN GL40 grenade launcher, which is a standalone grenade launcher that fires 40mm grenades. It's kind of crazy to me that they would add this out of the blue, considering I don't remember it being teased at all. I'm really excited to see how it plays out though, and since it's not rifle mounted, you'll have to give up a weapon slot for this thing, plus carry extra ammo, which I imagine will be expensive. Honestly, I'm really hyped to try and blast some people with a grenade launcher, and I just hope it's somewhat rare and balanced well to avoid people turning it into the new meta that needs to be dealt with, like the T7 thermal goggles. It's been teased a bit already, but we're also getting several new ammo types in the 12.7 patch. We don't know the stats or anything, but we have an idea of what they do. The main highlights are armor-piercing rounds for the 9x19, 45 caliber, and 366 ammo types, which hopefully bring them up to a more competitive level compared to other weapons. We're also getting another AP round for 7.62x51 rifles, which seems a bit overkill, but it might have a unique point in the balance of those rounds. Finally, we're also getting multiple types of 40mm grenades for the GL40 launcher. Most of these are just generic high explosive, but there's a buckshot 40mm round which could be kind of hilarious to blast people with in factory. Next up, the 12.7 patch is actually going to feature a lot of AI tweaks and improvements that'll make the scavs feel and act more immersive and more like players. I really like that the devs are pushing the scav AI more and more each patch, and they consistently make them more interactive and fun to fight, so I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how this all plays out. First up, scavs can now pick up items, including weapons from dead bodies, which I think is a very cool change, and something I've been looking forward to for a while. This means scavs will be more valuable to loot, since they can loot parts of the map before you get there, and I'm all for making scavs more valuable to kill and search. Next, scavs will now be more cautious and become alerted after seeing dead bodies, instead of just walking by them like nothing happened. I think this will be pretty cool and create some interesting reactions when they find their dead friends. Scavs will also now interact with each other more through gestures and do things like eat, drink, check mags, and other actions while they're just hanging around, which doesn't really affect gameplay, but should make them more immersive to watch from afar. I think the most interesting tweaks to Scav AI is that they'll now actually sprint and move more carefully through choke points and areas they consider dangerous, which should make them move in more immersive and interesting ways and make them trickier to fight. Scavs will now also try and work as a group to push you out of cover instead of approaching one by one at the doorway. I honestly am really excited to see some more intense door kicking action from the scavs, and hopefully raiders will do things like flashbang rooms and move in together instead of being cheesed one at a time. In the patch notes, some new skills were actually confirmed in addition to reworks of some old skills, and it was recently confirmed that there will be no skill reset in the 12.7 patch. First up, there's a new skill called Surgery that affects your use of CMS and Survival 12 kits, which reduce the HP loss from surgery and increase the speed. At elite level for this skill, you get 100% HP back and a faster speed for using the surgical kits. Next up, there's another new skill called Aim Drills, which increases your overall aiming speed and reduces the noise you make when you're aiming. The elite level of this skill is pretty interesting, allowing you to aim with no stamina or with a broken arm and not have shaky hands while aiming for the first few seconds. The strength skill has received a slight rework, and it now affects your weight limits more directly, increasing the lower and upper thresholds that determine how much you can carry. Elite level strength also makes it so the weight of your backpack and your guns aren't taken into account for your weight limit. Endurance has also received a slight rework and is now more directly tied to holding breath and stamina for running and not aiming. Endurance now increases running stamina, reduces stamina use while jumping, increases your hold breath timer, and increases stamina regen based on the level. At Elite Endurance, you can also hold your breath to aim while you're out of stamina and energy, which is a pretty cool buff. They also mentioned various fixes to old skills in the patch notes, and kind of a bombshell that's tucked away in the skill change section. They've increased the chest HP by 5 points. This seems like a pretty small tweak on the surface, but it actually means that they effectively removed one taps to the thorax on a vast majority of ammo types, unless the round fragments and therefore doubles the damage. This seems like a huge change to me, and kind of like the end of an era when it comes to one-shot sniper kills in the chest. It can also lead to many ammo types now requiring 3 bullets to kill rather than 2. We'll see how it all plays out, but this should lead to fights requiring a bit more finesse to finish quickly. The remainder of the patch notes is a long list of bug fixes, and there's a ton of them, so I'll just link the patch notes below in the description so you can read through and see if your favorite bug is now gone from the game. Something I thought was pretty interesting though, is that they added new animations for the SV98 and PPSH, which I'm kind of excited to check out, but they don't really affect the gameplay too much. Well, that about covers it for the patch notes, at least for the most important and exciting new additions and changes. This patch is actually a lot more substantial than I thought it would be, since I assumed it would just be the customs expansion and the boss, but something major like a grenade launcher and big AI tweaks are pretty cool to see, plus new quests and other little goodies. That being said, we'll get to check it all out next week when the patch drops, and I'm hyped to get in on the action and explore the new customs area and hunt Sanitar down in the dark of night with some NVGs. I'll be streaming more Escape From Tarkov on Twitch, and if you want to catch some raids, I've got a link to that down in the description. There's also links to my Twitter and Discord server, and my Patreon page for anyone looking to join the community or support the channel. Thanks for checking out the video. Feel free to leave any comments, corrections, or suggestions down below, and until next time, stay safe in Tarkov City.